1 year had passed since the Battle of Earth, and the galaxy was a completely different place. The human colonial union now controlled 15 star systems, with thriving settlements on 23 worlds. What had once been empty space was now filled with human ships, space stations, and the infrastructure of a rapidly growing interstellar civilization. Fleet Commander Boram stood in the command center of Starbase Alpha, humanity's first deep space naval base orbiting the planet New Sol in the Alpha Centauri system. Through the massive viewing windows, she could see human colony ships arriving daily, bringing settlers, equipment, and supplies to build new worlds. "Commander, the latest intelligence reports from our scout fleets," announced Captain Jae-hyun as he handed her a datapad. "3 more alien species have requested permission to establish trade relations with our colonies. The crystalline hive wants to exchange rare minerals for our medical technology." Boram studied the reports with satisfaction. Earth's technology was in high demand throughout the galaxy, but humanity was being very selective about what they shared and with whom. Species that had shown hostility toward humans found themselves cut off from trade, while those who proved friendly gained access to revolutionary advances in science and medicine. "Any word from the hegemony of Tal?" she asked. "They're still building defensive installations along their border with our territory," Jae-hyun replied with a slight smile. "Our intelligence sources report that General Krexlos has tripled his military budget and is trying to purchase advanced weapons from other species." "Let him," Boram said calmly. "Every credit he spends on defenses is a credit he can't spend on expansion. Besides, his new weapons won't help him against our latest ships." The Shadow Fleet had continued to evolve and improve. The vessels that had destroyed the Calvarian Empire were now considered obsolete, compared to the new generation of human warships. Ships that could travel through dimensions, weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas, and defensive systems that existed partially outside normal space-time. On the diplomatic front, Ambassador Han Yul was hosting the first Galactic Peace Conference aboard the neutral station Harmony's Edge. Representatives from 47 different species had gathered to discuss the new reality of human power and what it meant for galactic civilization. "The Human Colonial Union proposes the establishment of the Earth Doctrine," Han Yul announced to the assembled delegates. "Any species that desires peaceful coexistence with humanity will find us to be generous neighbors and valuable allies. However, any species that threatens human civilians or colonies will face the full military might of our fleet." The alien delegates shifted nervously in their seats. The Earth Doctrine was essentially an ultimatum disguised as a diplomatic proposal. Submit to human leadership or face the consequences that the Calvarians had learned too late. Ambassador Zethkar of the Spiral Coalition, a group of peaceful trading species, raised one of his forearms to speak. "The Coalition accepts the Earth Doctrine gladly. We have always believed that civilization should be protected from those who would destroy it for profit." But not all the delegates were so agreeable. War Chief Grakton of the Blood Raiders, a species of pirates who had terrorized shipping lanes for centuries, stood up with obvious anger. The Blood Raiders bowed to no one, he snarled, his tusks gleaming in the chamber's artificial light. "We will continue to take what we please from whom we please. Your doctrine means nothing to us." Han Yul looked at the pirate leader with cold eyes. "Then you have chosen your fate, War Chief. I suggest you enjoy the journey home, because it will be the last peaceful trip your people ever take." 3 days later, the Blood Raiders learned what the Earth Doctrine meant in practice. Captain Suho led a Shadow Fleet task force to the Crimson Nebula, where the pirates had their main base hidden among the gas clouds and radiation storms. "All ships, this is Suho," he announced to his squadron. "The Blood Raiders have had centuries to perfect their piracy. Today, they learn what happens when they target human commerce. No mercy, no survivors, no second chances. The battle was not really a battle at all. It was an extermination. Human ships phased through the nebula's natural defenses as if they did not exist, appearing directly inside the pirate base. Gravity weapons crushed their ships like paper. Nanite swarms consumed their space stations from within. Within 2 hours, the Blood Raiders ceased to exist as an organized force. Word of the pirates' destruction spread quickly through the galaxy's criminal underworld. Species that had made their living by preying on others suddenly found new careers in legitimate trade or mining. The human fleet's reputation for ruthlessness was becoming almost as feared as its reputation for advanced technology, but Earth's influence was not limited to military affairs. Dr. Yejin had established the first galactic medical exchange on the world of Haven, where human doctors worked alongside alien healers to share knowledge and develop new treatments. The
avian people have a natural immunity to most viral
infections, she explained to her human colleagues during a staff meeting. If we can understand how their immune systems work, we might be able to create universal vaccines for dozens of diseases that affect other species. The medical exchange was just one example of how human expansion was benefiting the entire galaxy. Human agricultural techniques were ending food shortages on multiple worlds. Human engineering was solving infrastructure problems that had plagued some species for generations. Human education systems were spreading literacy and scientific knowledge to societies that had never had access to advanced learning. On Earth itself, President He Jin was preparing for the next phase of human expansion. The success of the first wave of colonies had exceeded all expectations, and now it was time to think bigger. The Andromeda Gateway project is ready to begin, announced Chief Engineer Min Ho during a cabinet meeting. We can have a stable wormhole connection to the Andromeda Galaxy within 18 months. Imagine it, entire new galaxies waiting for human civilization. Not yet, He-Jin replied thoughtfully. We need to secure our position in this galaxy first. There are still too many potential threats that need to be dealt with. She was right to be cautious. Intelligence reports indicated that several major alien powers were secretly meeting to discuss the human problem. The hegemony of Tal, the Mechanical Collective, and the Psionic Empire were all represented at these clandestine gatherings. Agent Su Min, now operating as Earth's chief spy master, monitored these meetings through the extensive human intelligence network. Her agents had infiltrated every major alien government, and she knew about the secret alliance almost before its members did. They're calling themselves the Galactic Defense League, she reported to the Intelligence Council. The name is ironic considering they're planning to launch a coordinated attack on our outer colonies. When? Asked Intelligence Director Wu Jin. 6 months, maybe 8. They're trying to build a fleet large enough to challenge us, but they're having trouble agreeing on tactics or leadership. The hegemony wants a direct assault. The collective prefers economic warfare, and the Psionic Empire thinks they can use mental manipulation to turn our own people against us. Wu Jin smiled grimly. They're about to learn why those strategies won't work against humans. Our people are too well trained to fall for psionic tricks. Our economy is too diversified for economic attacks to be effective, and our military is too advanced for direct assault to succeed. The truth was that humanity had been preparing for exactly this scenario. Every human colony was defended by hidden weapon platforms. Every human trade route was patrolled by cloaked warships. Every human citizen had received basic training in counterintelligence and resistance operations. But perhaps most importantly, humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. The species that had benefited from human friendship and protection were beginning to form their own alliance. The Spiral Coalition, the Crystalline Hive, the Reformed Kelvans, and a dozen other peoples had pledged to stand with Earth against any aggressor. Admiral Young Min, now commanding the Combined Defense Fleet, met with his alien counterparts aboard the massive space station Unity 1. The station itself was a symbol of the new galactic order, built with human technology but crewed by representatives of 20 different species. Our combined fleets number over 30,000 ships, reported Admiral Vextar of the Reformed Kelvans, whose people had overthrown their former aggressive government after witnessing Earth's power. Any species that attacks human space will face not just the Shadow Fleet, but the entire Free Alliance. As the one-year anniversary of the Battle of Earth approached, humanity paused to reflect on how much had changed. Children who had hidden in underground shelters now played on the surfaces of alien worlds. Scientists who had worked in secret for decades now shared their discoveries openly with the galaxy. Military officers who had prepared for Earth's defense now protected entire civilizations. President Hyojin stood once again before the cameras, but this time she was not alone. Representatives from 23 allied species stood with her, as she addressed not just Earth but the entire galaxy. 1 year ago, the Calvarian Empire came to our solar system expecting to find a helpless world ready for conquest, she began. The news spread through the galaxy faster than the surviving alien ships could travel. Quantum communication networks carried the impossible story to every inhabited world. The mighty Calvarian Empire, conqueror of 12 species and 200 planets, had been utterly destroyed by a species the galaxy had dismissed as primitive. On the planet Zephyria, home to the bird-like avian people, Council leader Kessitar stared at the intelligence reports with disbelief. The holographic display showed the wreckage of the Calvarian fleet scattered throughout Earth's solar system like broken toys. 50,000 ships, she whispered to her advisors, the largest invasion force in galactic history, destroyed in less than 6 hours. How is this possible? Her military advisor, Wing Commander Velnok, studied the tactical data with growing alarm. The humans use technology we have never seen before. Weapons that manipulate gravity, ships that phase in and out of normal space, and some kind of self-replicating swarm that can consume a battleship from the inside. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place in the capital cities of 100 worlds. Species that had planned to divide Earth's resources among themselves now frantically recalculated their military strategies. The humans were no longer potential victims. They had become the most dangerous predators in known space. Ambassador Wu Jin sat in Earth's first official embassy, established on the neutral station Harmony Point at the edge of known space. The station had been built by the Mediator Guild as a place where different species could meet safely, but today it felt more like a courtroom where Earth was about to deliver its verdict to the galaxy. Representatives of all major galactic powers are requesting immediate meetings, reported his aide. Diplomate Unji. They're all very concerned about Earth's new military capabilities and want to discuss mutual security arrangements. Wu Jin smiled coldly. How interesting. Yesterday we were primitives not worth their attention. Today we're a threat that needs to be contained. Schedule the meetings, but make it clear that Earth will negotiate from a position of strength, not weakness. The first delegation to arrive was from the hegemony of Tal, a militaristic empire that controlled 30 star systems. Their leader, General Krexlos, was a massive creature covered in natural armor plating. He had conquered planets with his bare hands, but today he looked nervous. Ambassador Wu Jin, Krexlos began carefully, the hegemony wishes to express its admiration for Earth's defensive capabilities. We propose a non-aggression pact between our peoples. How generous, Wu Jin replied with barely hidden sarcasm. The same hegemony that voted to divide Earth's population into slave labor battalions now wants to be our friend. Tell me, General, what changed your mind? Krexlos shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The truth was that his own military advisors had run computer simulations of a conflict with Earth, and every scenario ended with the complete destruction of the hegemony fleet. But he could not admit that publicly. The galaxy is a dangerous place, he said instead. Strong species should work together for mutual benefit. Meanwhile, on Earth itself, the celebration was subdued but deeply felt. President He Jin addressed the world from the same office where she had announced humanity's fake surrender just days before. People of Earth, she began, we have passed our greatest test. For 50 years we prepared in secret while the galaxy dismissed us as weak and primitive. Today the entire galaxy knows the truth. Earth bows to no one. In the underground cities where millions had waited out the battle, crowds cheered as they watched the broadcasts. Children who had grown up practicing air raid drills could finally play outside without fear. Adults who had spent their lives building weapons in secret could finally take pride in their work. Captain Boram stood on the bridge of her flagship, now orbiting Earth openly for the first time in decades. The Shadow Fleet was no longer hidden. Hundreds of sleek black ships moved through Earth's orbital space like sharks patrolling their territory. Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command, announced her communications officer, Lieutenant Seo Hyun. We're being assigned to escort the first colonial expedition to Alpha Centauri. Boram nodded with satisfaction. Earth was no longer hiding behind defensive positions. Human colony ships were about to spread throughout the galaxy, protected by the most advanced fleet ever created. The colonial expedition was led by Governor Taemin, a veteran administrator who had spent years preparing for this moment. His ship, the New Horizon, carried 10,000 volunteers ready to build humanity's first interstellar settlement. Governor, we have escort ships taking position around the convoy, reported Captain J1 from the military escort vessel Guardian. 4 Shadow Fleet destroyers and 2 heavy cruisers. Any alien force that tries to interfere with us will regret it. As the human convoy jumped to faster-than-light travel, similar expeditions were preparing to depart for a dozen other star systems. Earth was no longer content to remain in one solar system. Humanity was expanding, and the galaxy would have to make room. On the industrial world of Mechanica, the robotic collective held an emergency session of their central processing unit. The machines that ruled this world were some of the most logical beings in the galaxy, but even they were struggling to process what had happened at Earth. Analysis indicates a 97.3% probability that Earth possesses technology superior to our own, announced Prime Unit 7. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact to obtain technological exchange agreements. Negative, replied Prime Unit 1. Analysis of human psychological profiles indicates high probability of aggressive expansion. Recommend defensive preparations and alliance building with other organic species. The debate raged through quantum networks for hours, but eventually logic prevailed. Earth was too dangerous to fight and too valuable to ignore. The collective would offer friendship and hope the humans were feeling generous. In his hidden laboratory on Earth, Chief Scientist Jin Wu was already working on the next generation of human technology. The weapons and ships that had destroyed the Calvirian fleet were just the beginning of what humanity could achieve. The quantum field generators are operating beyond all projections, he reported to his research team. We can now create stable wormholes for instantaneous travel across galactic distances. The next phase of expansion will make our current fleet look primitive. His assistant, Dr. Ye Jin, looked up from her own experiments with excitement. Sir, the nanite evolution program has produced some remarkable results. We now have self-improving robots that can build better versions of themselves. Within a year, we could have automated factories on every habitable world in the galaxy. But perhaps the most important development was happening in Earth's intelligence networks. Agent Su Min, who officially worked as a cultural attaché, was actually the coordinator of humanity's vast spy network. For decades, human agents had been infiltrating alien societies, learning their secrets and preparing for this moment. All deep cover agents report successful integration, she announced to the Intelligence Council. We have operatives in key positions throughout the galaxy. When Earth decides to act, we will know our enemies' plans before they do. The network was extensive and sophisticated. Human agents served as advisors to alien military leaders, as researchers in alien laboratories, as traders in alien markets. They looked like members of their adopted species, thanks to advanced biotechnology. But their loyalty belonged to Earth alone. On the ocean world of Aquatica, Agent Jiangsu had spent 15 years disguised as a member of the aquatic Merhai people. Today, he received new orders through quantum encryption, begin gathering intelligence on the planet's defensive capabilities for a possible human colony. Similar messages went out to agents throughout the galaxy. Earth was no longer playing defense. It was time to scout new territory and identify potential threats before they could organize against humanity. The transformation was remarkable. In less than a week, Earth had gone from being an ignored backwater to the most feared and respected power in galactic politics. Every major species was sending diplomats, offering trade deals, or proposing military alliances. But President Haye Jin and her advisors were not naive. They knew that today's friendly ambassadors could become tomorrow's enemies. Once the shock wore off and alien leaders began planning their response to humanity's rise, we have maybe 6 months before someone tries to form a coalition against us, warned Defense Minister Sung Ho during a cabinet meeting. We need to use that time to establish our colonies, expand our fleet, and identify our potential enemies. Agreed, replied Foreign Minister Young Suk. I recommend we start with the species that have shown historical patterns of aggression. If they're going to be our enemies anyway, we might as well choose the time and place of the confrontation. The galaxy had noticed Earth at last. Now it remained to be seen whether that attention would lead to peaceful coexistence or a war that would reshape the stars themselves. Fleet Captain Mordock stared at his tactical display in disbelief. In just 2 hours, the mighty Calvirian armada had been reduced from 50,000 ships to less than 8,000 scattered survivors. The humans had weapons and technology that should not exist, and they were using them with a skill that spoke of decades of preparation. Sir, we're receiving retreat orders from the surviving ship commanders, reported his communications officer, trying to keep the fear out of his voice. They want to regroup at the edge of the solar system. Approved, Mordak replied grimly. Signal all remaining vessels to fall back to Rally Point Gamma. We need to get out of range of those orbital weapons and figure out how to fight these humans. But Commander Mijin had other plans. Her destroyer squadron had used Jupiter's massive gravity to build up incredible speed during their approach, and now they were racing to intercept the retreating alien forces. Her ships moved like silver arrows through space, their advanced engines leaving no heat signature that enemy sensors could track. All ships, this is Mijin, she announced to her squadron. The enemy thinks they can run away and come back later with a bigger fleet. We're going to show them that there is no running from Earth. Her flagship, the Night Hunter, led the charge toward the alien retreat formation. The ship's quantum torpedoes were already armed and ready. These weapons existed in multiple dimensions at once, making them impossible to intercept or defend against with normal shields. Weapons lock on the alien command ship, reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Jun Seo. Range closing to optimal firing distance. Fire, Mijin ordered coldly. The quantum torpedoes streaked across space, phasing in and out of normal reality as they approached their targets. When they struck Mordak's ship, they simply erased portions of its hull from existence, leaving perfect spherical holes that vented atmosphere and crew into the vacuum. Impossible, Mordak screamed as his ship began to die around him. How can primitives have weapons like this? He would never learn the answer. Emergency bulkheads sealed automatically, but the damage was too severe. His ship broke apart in a cascade of explosions, taking with it the aliens' best chance of organizing an effective retreat. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, the hidden human installations were revealing their true nature one by one. What the aliens had dismissed as simple mining operations were actually some of the most sophisticated military bases in the solar system. Engineer Kyung-soo commanded Fortress Rock 7, a hollowed-out asteroid that had been converted into a mobile battle station. For 20 years, he had overseen the installation of weapons that could destroy capital ships with a single shot. Targeting the alien heavy cruiser formation, announced his weapons officer, Specialist Dasam. They're trying to use the asteroid field for cover. Show them that there is no cover here, Kyung-soo replied. All gun batteries, synchronized fire. Let's crack those ships open like eggs. The asteroid suddenly sprouted dozens of weapon ports as hidden panels slid away. Particle beam cannons, plasma projectors, and gravity lance weapons all fired at once, creating a web of destruction that caught the fleeing alien ships in a trap they could not escape. The alien cruiser Deathbringer tried to hide behind a large asteroid, not knowing that the rock itself was about to become its executioner. Kyung-soo's main gun, a weapon built into the asteroid's core, fired a beam of pure gravitational force that simply crushed the alien vessel into a ball of twisted metal. Back near Earth, the lunar installations were continuing their deadly work. Commander Yan Wu controlled the dark side gun batteries from his command center deep inside the moon itself. The railguns had been charging for hours, and now they were ready to reach out across the solar system to strike fleeing enemies. Projectile launchers loaded with tungsten penetrators, reported his gunnery chief, Sergeant Min Kyung. Each round weighs 2 tons and will be traveling at 15% of light speed when it hits. Target the alien formation near Mars orbit, Yan Wu ordered. Time to flight, 47 seconds. Fire when ready. The railguns hurled their deadly cargo across millions of kilometers of space. The projectiles were simple chunks of metal, but at the speeds they were traveling, they hit with the force of nuclear weapons. Alien ships that had survived the Battle of Earth were destroyed by lumps of tungsten, fired from the moon. In his underground command center, Master Tactician Dae-hyun watched the battle unfold across multiple displays. Every alien movement was tracked by quantum sensors that the enemy could not detect. Every human ship was coordinated through communication networks that worked faster than light itself. Phase 3 is proceeding perfectly, he announced to his staff. The aliens are scattered and demoralized. Now we begin the systematic elimination of their remaining forces. His assistant, intelligence officer Bo Young, looked up from her console with a grim smile. Sir, we're intercepting alien communications. They're trying to call for reinforcements from their home systems. Let them, Dae-hyun replied calmly. By the time help arrives, there won't be anyone left to rescue. And we'll have a few surprises waiting for the next wave, too. Captain Boram had moved her flagship Silent Thunder to the outer edge of the solar system, where the most desperate alien survivors were trying to escape. Her ship's advanced sensors could track enemy vessels even when they thought they were hidden behind planets or moons. "Contact bearing 27 Mark 5, announced her sensor officer. "Lieutenant Hyo Jin, single alien destroyer attempting to reach minimum safe jump distance." "Not today," Boram said quietly. "Helm, intercept course. Weapons, prepare a gravity mine." The gravity mine was one of humanity's most terrifying weapons. When deployed, it created a localized distortion in spacetime that could trap ships like insects in amber. The trapped vessel would be slowly crushed by forces beyond its ability to resist. The alien destroyer never saw the attack coming. One moment it was racing toward the safety of faster-than-light travel. The next it was caught in a gravity well that began compressing its hull like a tin can. The crew had just enough time to send a final terror-filled message before their ship imploded. Throughout the solar system, similar scenes were playing out. The human forces that had hidden for 50 years were now hunting their enemies with methodical precision. Every escape route was blocked. Every hiding place was compromised. The aliens who had come to conquer Earth were learning what it meant to be prey. Fighter pilot Gi-hun led his squadron on a sweep through the outer planets, looking for any alien ships that might have escaped the initial slaughter. His craft were marvels of human engineering, capable of maneuvers that would crush a normal pilot with gravitational forces. "Contact on long-range sensors," reported his wingman, Pilot Sung-min. "Alien scout ship attempting to hide in Saturn's rings." "Let's go fishing," Gi-hun replied with cold humor. "Time to show them that there's nowhere to run." His squadron dove into Saturn's ring system, their ship's advanced navigation computers plotting courses through the ice and rock that no alien pilot could follow. The scout ship tried to escape deeper into the rings, but the human fighters were faster and more agile. Gi-hun's quantum torpedoes found their target within minutes. The alien ship died in a flash of light that briefly illuminated the ice around it, adding one more victory to Earth's growing tally. In the deeper reaches of space, where the aliens thought they were safe, more human ships were waiting. Captain Wu Jin commanded a stealth cruiser that had been patrolling the system's edge for weeks. Invisible to all alien sensors, multiple contacts approaching from Galactic North, announced his tactical officer. "Looks like a survivor group trying to link up and escape together." "Negative," Wu Jin said firmly. "Deploy nanite clouds across their projected course. Let's see how they handle a few billion hungry robots." The nanite swarms spread out across space like an invisible net. When the alien ships flew into them, the tiny robots immediately began boring through hulls and consuming critical systems. Within minutes, the proud warships were reduced to drifting hulks, their crews dead and their weapons silent. Admiral Vexthar himself had managed to escape the initial destruction aboard an emergency pod, but even he could not evade Earth's hunters forever. Captain Sohyun found him hiding behind a small moon, his life support failing and his hope gone. "This is Captain Sohyun of the Earth Defense Force," she announced over an open channel. "Admiral Vexthar, you are the last surviving senior officer of your invasion fleet. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war." Vexthar's reply was filled with rage and disbelief. "You are primitives. How do you have such weapons? How did you hide such a fleet?" "We learned from every species you conquered," Sohyun replied calmly. "We studied every battle you fought. We prepared for 50 years for this moment. Did you really think Earth would be helpless forever?" The alien admiral chose death over surrender, activating his pod's self-destruct system rather than face the humiliation of capture. His final transmission was a warning to his home worlds about the terrible danger that Earth now represented. But it was too late for warnings. The hunt was nearly over and Earth had won completely. Of the 50,000 ships that had come to conquer humanity, fewer than 200 would escape to tell the tale. The final hour had arrived. President Hyejin stood before the cameras in her office, her face showing the perfect mixture of defeat and dignity that the aliens expected to see. Behind her, the Earth flag hung limp as if it too had given up hope. "People of Earth," she began, her voice heavy with false sorrow. "After careful consideration of our situation, the government of Earth has decided that resistance is futile. We cannot match the military power of the Calvirian Empire. Therefore, I am formally announcing Earth's surrender to prevent the senseless loss of human life." The message was broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring that every alien ship would receive it. In his command center aboard the Worldbreaker, Admiral Vexthar listened with satisfaction. Another world had seen reason and chosen survival over pointless heroism. "Excellent," he told his officers. "Order the fleet to move into occupation positions. We will establish control over their major cities and begin processing the human population for work assignments." The massive alien ships began moving closer to Earth, arranging themselves in a formation that would allow them to control the planet's surface completely. The largest vessels positioned themselves over major cities, while smaller ships spread out to cover escape routes and military bases. Admiral Dongwu received the coded signal from Earth Command and began the final act of the deception. "All ships, this is Admiral Dongwu," he broadcast on open channels that the aliens could hear. "By order of the Earth government, we are standing down all weapons and assuming surrender positions. Power down all offensive systems and await further instructions." Earth's visible fleet began moving into formations that looked defeated and helpless. Ship after ship went dark as their weapon systems powered down. To the aliens, it appeared that humanity's last military force was giving up without a fight. But in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, Captain Boram stood on the bridge of her flagship Silent Thunder, watching the final countdown on her tactical display. Around her, the crew worked with quiet efficiency, making last-minute checks on systems that represented 50 years of secret human engineering. "All Shadow Fleet vessels report ready," announced her weapons officer, Lieutenant Gihun. 15,000 ships across all launch points worldwide. Gravity weapons charged, quantum torpedoes loaded, nanite swarms prepared for deployment. Boram looked at the chronometer. 30 seconds until the ultimatum officially expired. 30 seconds until Earth showed the galaxy what humans were really capable of when pushed too far. "Open channel to all Shadow Fleet commanders," she ordered. "This is Captain Boram to all units. Today we defend our home. Today we show the galaxy that Earth bows to no one. Prepare for surface breach in 10 seconds. The countdown reached 0. Around the globe, the ocean began to boil. Massive underwater doors that had remained hidden for decades suddenly opened, releasing streams of bubbles and displaced water. The sea surface erupted as if volcanoes were exploding beneath the waves. Commander So-hyun piloted the first ship to break the surface, her sleek black vessel rising from the Pacific like a sea monster from ancient legends. Water cascaded off its hull as anti-gravity generators lifted it smoothly into the sky. Behind her, hundreds more ships emerged from hidden bays. "This is So-hyun to all first-wave units," she announced over the Shadow Fleet communication network. "Begin primary assault. Target the alien command vessels first. Show them no mercy." The Shadow Fleet ships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Each vessel was a work of art and engineering, its hull made from materials that seemed to absorb light and bend space around them. They moved with impossible grace, accelerating from 0 to combat speed in seconds without any visible sign of engines. Aboard the Worldbreaker, alarm sirens suddenly began screaming. Admiral Vexthar rushed to his tactical display, his eyes wide with shock at what the sensors were showing him. Where did these ships come from? He roared at his tactical officer. "Our sensors showed no vessels in those areas." "Unknown, Admiral," the officer replied, his voice shaking with fear. "They just appeared from nowhere." "Count is, Admiral, we're reading over 10,000 new contacts and more appearing every second. The first volley from the Shadow Fleet struck the alien formation like lightning from a clear sky. Weapons that manipulated gravity itself reached out across space and began crushing alien vessels like tin cans. The massive dreadnought Starbreaker, pride of the Calvarian fleet, simply collapsed in on itself as its own mass was turned against it. Captain Boram targeted the alien flagship personally. Her ship's main weapon was a gravity lance that could focus the force of a black hole into a beam, no wider than a pencil. She watched through her view screen as the beam struck the Worldbreaker's shields and passed right through them as if they did not exist. "Impossible," Admiral Vexthar screamed as his ship's hull began to crumple. Emergency force fields struggled to contain atmosphere as the human weapon tore through armor that had never been penetrated before. How do they have technology like this? He would never learn the answer. The Worldbreaker died 3 seconds later, crushed by forces that no known science could create. Lieutenant Gihun led a squadron of Shadow Fleet fighters in a swarm attack against a group of alien cruisers. His ship was small compared to the enemy vessels, but it moved like a living thing, dodging energy beams and missile strikes with impossible agility. "Quantum torpedoes armed," he announced to his wing. "Let's show them what happens when they threaten human children." The torpedoes were devices that existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. When they struck their targets, they did not simply explode. They erased the matter they touched from reality itself, leaving perfect spherical holes in the enemy ships. On the moon, engineer Kyung-soo activated the hidden railgun batteries. The weapons had been disguised as natural craters for 30 years, but now they revealed their true nature. Massive electromagnetic launchers hurled projectiles the size of school buses at significant fractions of light speed. "Firing solution locked on alien heavy cruiser Group 7, reported his gunner. "Technician Hyjin. Kinetic projectiles away." The projectiles crossed the distance between Moon and Earth orbit in less than 2 seconds. When they struck the alien ships, the results were spectacular. Vessels that had survived the destruction of planets were cut in half by the sheer kinetic energy of the impacts. In the asteroid belt, Mining Station 7 dropped its disguise and revealed the massive weapon platforms hidden within. Commander Yanwu had spent 20 years pretending to dig for minerals while actually building some of the most powerful guns in the solar system. "All batteries, open fire," he ordered. "Target the alien formation attempting to retreat toward the outer system." Beams of coherent energy lanced out from a dozen hidden stations, catching the fleeing alien ships in a crossfire that left no escape routes. The hunters who had come to Earth expecting easy prey found themselves trapped in a killing field created by their intended victims. Back on Earth, Master Tactician Dae-hyun coordinated the battle from his underground command center. Holographic displays showed him every ship, every weapon, every movement of both fleets. This was the moment he had planned for his entire career. "Wave 2, begin your attack run," he ordered. "Nanite deployment ships target the remaining heavy units. Gravity manipulation squadrons, focus on breaking up their formation." The nanite swarms were invisible to alien sensors until it was too late. Billions of microscopic robots flowed through space like metallic clouds, seeking out enemy vessels and beginning to consume them from within. Ship after ship simply fell apart, as critical systems were eaten away by the tiny invaders. Admiral Vexthar's second-in-command, Fleet Captain Mordock, tried desperately to organize a counterattack from his own ship, but the human vessels were impossible to target effectively. Their stealth technology made them nearly invisible, and their speed and maneuverability were beyond anything in the alien databases. "All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance," he ordered. "We need to regroup and analyze these new human capabilities." But there was no safe distance. The Shadow Fleet had planned this battle for decades, and every possible escape route was covered. Human ships appeared from behind asteroids, from the shadows of planets, from dimensions that normal sensors could not detect. Captain Mi-jin commanded a squadron of destroyers that used the gravity of Jupiter to accelerate to impossible speeds. Her ships emerged from the gas giant's electromagnetic storm like angels of death, striking at the alien supply vessels that had thought themselves safely hidden in the outer system. "This is for every world you've conquered," she whispered, as her weapons tore through enemy hulls. Narration battle that the aliens had expected to last minutes was turning into a massacre that would be remembered for centuries. Earth's trap had worked perfectly. The overconfident invaders had flown straight into the most sophisticated ambush in galactic history. In less than 1 hour, the mighty Calvarian fleet was reduced to scattered groups of damaged ships fleeing for their lives. The species that had conquered half the galaxy had learned a hard lesson about underestimating their prey. Earth was no longer hiding. Earth was hunting. The countdown timer showed 36 hours remaining when Commander Tae-ho received his orders. His hands were steady as he read the message, but inside his chest his heart was beating fast. This was the most dangerous part of the plan, and if anything went wrong, he and his crew would not survive. "All ships, this is Tae-ho," he spoke into his communicator. "We are beginning Operation Broken Shield. Remember, we must look desperate and outmatched. The aliens need to believe we are trying our best and failing badly." Tae-ho commanded 12 ships, all of them older models that Earth had deliberately shown to alien scouts over the years. They were real fighting ships, but next to the massive alien fleet they looked like children's toys. That was exactly what Earth wanted the aliens to think. His squadron moved away from Earth's main defensive positions, heading toward a group of alien scout ships near the moon. To watching eyes, it looked like a desperate surprise attack by humans who knew they were doomed. The alien scouts were ready for them. Enemy weapons locking onto us, reported pilot Su-Jin from her position. They're not even trying very hard. They think this is too easy. The alien ships opened fire with bright blue energy beams that cut through space like lightning. Taeho's ships dodged and weaved, firing back with missiles and laser cannons. For 15 minutes, they put on a good show of fighting bravely against impossible odds. Now, Taeho ordered quietly. One by one, his ships began to explode in brilliant flashes of light. But just before each explosion, something invisible happened. The crews vanished in flickers of bent light, teleported to safety by technology the aliens had never seen before. The ships were empty when they died, but the aliens would never know that. Taeho was the last to leave. He watched his command ship tear apart around him, then felt the strange pulling sensation as the teleporter grabbed him. One moment he was on the bridge of a dying ship. The next he was standing in a medical bay deep underground on Earth. All crews recovered safely, reported Dr. Hai-sun as she checked Taeho for injuries. The aliens think they just killed 300 brave human pilots. They have no idea you're all having lunch in the cafeteria. Above ground, the news broadcast showed exactly what Earth wanted them to show. Reporters with frightened faces talked about the brave sacrifice of Taeho's squadron. Government officials appeared on camera arguing about whether to surrender or keep fighting. Military leaders gave interviews where they admitted Earth's defenses were not strong enough, but the real activity was happening where alien sensors could not see it. Nari sat in a communication center that officially did not exist, coordinating with human outposts throughout the solar system. Her fingers danced across controls that sent quantum-encrypted messages faster than light itself. Mining Station 7. Report status. She spoke into her headset. Station 7 ready for reveal, came the reply from the asteroid belt. We've been pretending to dig for metal for 20 years, ready to show them what we really built out here. Station 12. 12 ready. Our fusion reactors are coming online now. The aliens will be very surprised when this empty rock starts shooting at them. One by one, Nari checked in with dozens of hidden installations. Asteroid mining stations that were really fortress bases. Research outposts that were actually weapon platforms. Even the tourist hotels on the moon were not what they seemed. On the dark side of the moon, engineer Kyung-soo made final preparations to weapons that had been hidden for 30 years. Massive railguns built into the lunar surface covered by fake rock and dust. From orbit, they looked like natural craters. In reality, they could shoot projectiles at nearly the speed of light. Power levels at 90%, reported his assistant Min-ho, all targeting computers online. We can hit any alien ship in Earth orbit from here. Kyung-soo nodded, watching as the huge weapons slowly turned toward their targets. The aliens had no idea that the moon itself was about to become their enemy. In his flagship high above Earth, Admiral Vexthar studied the reports of the human attack. 12 ships destroyed, 300 humans killed, and not a single alien casualty. It had gone exactly as expected. The humans are getting desperate, he told his officers. Intelligence reports that their government is splitting into groups. Some want to surrender immediately. Others want to fight to the death. This makes our job easier. His communications officer, a creature with too many eyes and purple skin, looked up from his console. Admiral, we are receiving more human radio traffic. They seem to be moving their remaining ships into a defensive formation around their planet. Of course they are, Vexthar said with satisfaction. They will gather their pathetic fleet and make one last brave stand. We will crush them quickly and then begin the occupation. What the aliens did not know was that every radio message they intercepted was carefully planned. Deep in Earth's quantum communication center, Jin Woo and his team created fake radio chatter designed to make the aliens more confident and less careful. Send message package 7, Jin Woo ordered. Make it sound like the Earth fleet is having supply problems. Add some fake arguments between ship captains about ammunition shortages. His team worked at their stations, creating the perfect illusion of a desperate human military falling apart under pressure. Every fake message was designed to make the aliens move their ships into the positions Earth wanted them in. Meanwhile, in laboratories around the world, the final preparations for humanity's secret weapons continued. Scientist Wu Jin checked the nanite production facilities, where tiny robots smaller than bacteria were being created by the billions. Each nanite was programmed to eat through alien ship armor and destroy critical systems from the inside. Production rate is at maximum, reported his assistant Ye Jin. We'll have enough nanites to disable their entire fleet. They won't know what hit them until it's too late. In another lab, weapons expert Da Yun made final adjustments to gravity manipulation devices that could crush a battleship like an empty can. The technology was based on alien science that Earth had stolen and improved over decades of secret research. President He Jin sat in her office, watching the countdown timer tick toward 0. Around her, advisors reported on the final stages of the plan. Every piece was falling into place perfectly. The aliens are exactly where we want them, reported Defense Minister Sung Ho, overconfident, spread out, and completely unaware of what's coming. Our intelligence networks confirm they think this will be an easy victory. Shadow Fleet status? Hyjin asked. All 15,000 ships ready for launch. Crews at battle stations. Weapons charged and targeting computers locked onto enemy vessels. We can begin the attack at any moment. Hyjin looked out her window at the alien ships filling the sky like mechanical stars. Soon, those ships would learn that they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Earth was not helpless. Earth was not primitive. Earth was a trap, and they had flown right into it. The timer showed 18 hours remaining. Around the world, hidden bases opened their doors. In the depths of the oceans, launch tubes prepared to flood. On the moon and in the asteroids, weapons that had waited decades for this moment began their final power-up sequences. The aliens expected surrender. They were about to get war. The massive alien ships appeared in Earth's sky like dark clouds covering the sun. Admiral Dongwu stood on the bridge of the orbital station Aegis Prime, watching through the giant windows as more and more enemy vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel. He had never seen so many ships in one place. The alien fleet stretched across space like a metal ocean, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. "Sir, we count 50,000 enemy ships," reported Lieutenant He Wan from her station. Her voice was steady, but Dongwu could see her hands shaking slightly as she worked at her console. "Our sensors show they have weapons we've never seen before." Dongwu nodded slowly. Earth's defense fleet had only 800 ships, and most of them were old designs from 20 years ago. Against this massive alien force, they looked like toys facing giants. He had trained for this day his entire life, but seeing it happen still made his stomach tight with fear. The communication screen flickered to life, showing an alien face that looked like a cross between a lizard and a shark. Sharp teeth filled its mouth, and its eyes were the color of fresh blood. When it spoke, the translation computer made its voice sound cold and emotionless. "I am Fleet Admiral Vexthar of the Calvarian Empire," the alien said. "We have conquered 12 species and 200 worlds. Your planet Earth will surrender in 72 hours, or we will destroy every city and kill every human. You cannot fight us. You cannot hide from us. You will obey us or die." The screen went black. Dongwu looked around at his crew. Their faces showed fear, anger, and determination all mixed together. These were good people, brave people, but they all knew the truth. Earth's visible fleet could not win this fight. "Send a message to Earth Command," Dongwu ordered. "Tell them the ultimatum has been delivered. Tell them it's time for Protocol Lazarus." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Captain Bo-Ram walked through corridors that did not officially exist. The underwater base was enormous, carved into the seafloor and hidden from all sensors. Around her, thousands of workers moved with quiet purpose, making final preparations for something the surface world knew nothing about. Bo-Ram entered the main hangar and stopped to stare at the sight before her. Rows and rows of sleek black ships filled the space, each one shaped like a knife blade and covered in technology that seemed to bend light around it. These were not the clunky, slow ships that Earth showed to the galaxy. These were something else entirely. "Captain, all Shadow Fleet vessels report ready for launch," said Commander Tae-ho as he approached. 15,000 ships across all hidden bases worldwide. The crews have been training for this moment for 10 years. Bo-Ram touched the hull of the nearest ship. The metal felt warm under her fingers, almost alive. "Have the aliens taken the bait?" "Completely. Their scouts report that Earth has primitive technology and a tiny fleet. They think this will be easy." Tae-ho smiled grimly. "They have no idea what's waiting for them." On the surface, in the presidential palace, Hyejin sat at her desk reading reports from around the world. Every major city was beginning evacuations, just as they had practiced many times before. To watching alien eyes, it would look like panic and fear. In reality, it was the most organized military movement in human history. Her aide, Young Min, entered the room with a worried expression. Madam President, the alien fleet is positioning itself around Earth. They're spreading out to cover all our major population centers. Perfect, Hyojin said calmly. The more spread out they are, the harder it will be for them to support each other when the time comes. She stood and walked to the window, looking up at the sky where alien ships moved like distant stars. How long until all our people are in the safe zones? 18 hours, Madam President. The underground cities can hold everyone for months if needed. Hyojin nodded. 50 years ago, after the first contact with hostile aliens in the outer system, Earth had begun the largest construction project in human history. Every major city now had a complete underground copy, connected by tunnels and protected by the best defenses human engineering could create. The surface cities that the aliens planned to destroy were mostly empty shells now. Send the activation signal to all Shadow Fleet commanders, she ordered. Tell them that in 54 hours, we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth. In space, the alien fleet continued to grow. More ships arrived every hour, until the sky around Earth was thick with enemy vessels. The largest ships were the size of cities, covered in weapon ports and armor that could stop nuclear bombs. The smallest were still bigger than Earth's largest battleships. Admiral Vexthar stood in his command center aboard the massive dreadnought Worldbreaker, studying the tactical displays. The human fleet was pathetic, just as intelligence reports had promised. A few hundred old ships with primitive weapons. This would not even be a real battle. Admiral, the humans are sending radio messages, reported his communications officer. They seem to be arguing among themselves about whether to surrender. Vexthar showed his teeth in what his species considered a smile. Fear makes them fight each other instead of us. Good. When they surrender, they will be easier to control. He had done this same thing dozens of times before. A massive show of force, a short ultimatum, and then either quick surrender or quicker destruction. The humans would choose surrender. They always did when they saw how hopeless their situation was. Back on Earth, in a hidden command center deep underground, the real preparations continued. Master Tactician Dae-hyun studied holographic displays showing the positions of every alien ship. Quantum computers calculated attack patterns and defensive formations. Satellite networks that the aliens did not know existed tracked every movement of the enemy fleet. They're positioning exactly as we predicted, Dae-hyun told his staff, overconfident and spread thin. When we strike, they won't be able to respond quickly enough to save themselves. The countdown continued. 60 hours, 50 hours, 40 hours. To the aliens watching from space, Earth looked more desperate with each passing moment. Radio chatter suggested panic in the government. Military movements seemed confused and uncoordinated. But in the depths of the ocean and in hidden bases around the world, the Shadow Fleet waited. 15,000 ships that could bend space itself. Weapons that could tear apart matter at the atomic level. Crews trained from childhood for this single moment. The aliens expected Earth's surrender. They were about to discover their mistake.